Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the French Tier 6 Premium Light Tank, the ELC AMX 90. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the ELC AMX 90, it is the old school ELC AMX, but at Tier 6 as a premium tank. And they released this quite a while ago. I think, was this for free? I believe we did some sort of earn-up to get this for free or something like that. And yeah, it's basically the old school ELC AMX, and you might be going, what do you mean the old school ELC AMX? Wasn't that a Tier 5? Yes, and it still is a Tier 5. But what they did is basically give it very, very similar or near enough to the same stats that the old ELC AMX got when it could see +3 matchmaking, like all the old school light tanks. Because all the old school light tanks used to be able to see, well, as a Tier 5, you used to be able to see up to Tier 8 in the ELC AMX. And thus your gun had the capacity to fight that level and stuff like that. It used to only have the really it only had one choice. It never had a fully traversable turret. You had this 90mm gun, which was pretty ferocious. And it basically played like, you know, a scout that could go spotting, but at the same time, it was more like a tank destroyer than it was truly a light tank. It was far more maneuverable than the Tier 5 one is now. The view range was a lot better. The gun was... the gun penetration-wise was a lot better as well. It just genuinely was just a better version of the tank, naturally, because it had worse matchmaking. But then they nerfed it down. Obviously, it stayed as a Tier 5, but it got better matchmaking. And then we ended up getting this tank a lot longer down the line. I mean, the light tank changes were about, 6-7 years ago at this point? Probably. Something like that. And then we got this tank some point last year. So yeah, the gun on the ELC AMX 90 has 170 penetration on the standard AP rounds with 248 penetration on the premium APCR rounds, which is more than enough for a Tier 6 light tank than you're ever going to need. You can pen everything with that. And because you've got 240 alpha as well, it really does hit like a truck. You've got 360 meters of view range, which isn't the best for a light tank, but to be fair, you can get that up to a decent level. You can basically get that up to a decent level with coated optics, with situational awareness, born leader, food, etc. to be able to spot for yourself. And because this thing has such fantastic camo, you were at 293 meters of still concealment base. You can get that down really, really low, which means you'll be very, very hard to spot. You'll be able to put yourselves in aggressive bush locations and spot for your team to get yourself lots of assistance. And if you want to, then you can fall back on the playstyle of playing more like a tank destroyer and slapping those big 240 alpha rounds out towards the enemy team. Naturally, you've got to put with the fact that the reload on this tank is a little bit long with a base reload of 9.4 seconds. Plus, you've got a 2.7 second aim time, which isn't great. And your base accuracy is 0.38, which is a little bit yikes. Which can mean that you will, miss quite a few shots that you really wanted to pen. But it is what it is. It's a light tank after all, so its fighting capacity is always going to be a bit worse than most other tanks. But still, it's pretty damn nice for a Tier 6 light tank. So what do I run in terms of a crew on the old ELC AMX 90? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Muffled Shot, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun. The 3 gun perks to make sure that this gun is as good as it can be, because it's really derpy at times. I want to make sure it's going to at least hit some of the shots. The Camouflage Expertise to make sure that the camo is pretty good on it. The Muffled Shot to be able to make sure that my camo isn't affected as much by firing as well. So that sometimes when I am in those aggressive bush locations and I pull back behind the bush to get as much camo out of it as possible, it basically stays unspotted, and then I can use the fantastic camo that this tank has to my effect. And then in terms of equipment, I run the camo net, the advanced loader, and optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself as a light tank, having that view range as high as possible is great, is what you want to be doing as a light tank naturally. The advanced loader to make sure that the reload is as good as possible, because the reload is long if you don't help it out, so that's why I do that with the advanced loader. And the camo net to make the filthy camo even filthier. Now, obviously with the equipment, you could change that out if you wanted to. You could get rid of the advanced loader, for example, because you could just accept that you are a light tank and that you're not really bothered about having the reload be as good as it can be. And you could drop the advanced loader for something like the traction system to go at 71 kilometers an hour instead of the 65 that this tank gets. It's down to you and personal preference. I just like having the reload be that little bit faster. So this first game that you're seeing here is on Prokhorovka, which is the light tank map, right? We're at 2.1k damage with 1800 assistance, and we got rid of our rival light tank in a rather brutal little ram. Good night, Mr. Tier 5 version of me. I'm the only ELC AMX in this game now. But we got rid of that guy with a nice little ram. The last tank on the enemy team is the G1R, and we shut it down with a shot that was quite nice, and we managed to get 2 kills in the blink of an eye there and finish with the victory. 5 kills, 2.7k damage, 2.7k assistance. The ace tanker, the patrol duty, the scout, the high caliber, 2.2k base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the ELC AMX 90, the tier 6 French light tank on Proc. And we took a very aggressive position right at the start of Prop there. We took that aggressive bush location, which lent us the ability to spot a lot of the enemy team, see what was going off. But you could see we were always watching to watch what their light tank was doing in case he decided to charge along and try and get to the bush we were in, because obviously we were in the scout bush generally for their side. So it was always a chance that he could come rushing for that bush and thus he'd spot us and we'd probably die very, very quickly. And because you can see that the turret traverse is limited on this ELC AMX 90, we were never facing a position where we could fire at their team. We were always facing away, ready to run when we needed to. But now we're on to the second replay, and this second replay is a pretty damn nice game that we had in it. And we are on Siegfried Line. And on Siegfried Line, you can see I'm spotting up the enemy team that are in the field, and I'm just pulling back quite far here so I can try and fire at the Citadel without getting spotted. I'm just watching what that light tank is doing on the map as well, because he's the one that could spot me if I do fire. We wait for that light tank to drop behind the ridgeline on the map, and I can tell where he was on the map because of just experience, really. And you can see again, I am watching that light tank. We thought that Citadel was tracked, so we were just using third person aim to see what he was doing. I'm just watching again. You can see I'm keeping my eye on that 12T, because that 12T is the one that could spot me, and I don't want him to spot me in the middle of the open field because, well, it could be curtains. So we're going to put ourselves behind this bunker so that we're safe from fire from the enemy team on our right, and we're going to try our best to get shots into this 12T to get rid of the enemy light tank. But unfortunately, we end up missing the shot there on that 12T. We're just going to aim up again to make sure we hit, but yet again we missed the shot on the 12T, but now we're unspotted. We know we can sit here with impunity and make sure that we do manage to try and get a shot into him, but unfortunately, the SU-100 ends up shutting down that 12T, or fortunately enough, really, for our team, that 12T gets shut down. So that's our rival light tank gone. There is one more left, but it's good that he's gone. But now, looking at where our heavy tank is, at C5, it's like, that's it for the field, isn't it? Okay, if this Absolution is going to be spotting up, let's use the tank destroyer ability of the ELC AMX 90 to help him out. So you can see we're just sitting far away. These guys are never going to see us because our camo is that good, and we're just going to start putting shots down range towards the 88 and the Death Toaster. Unfortunately, we didn't aim that one properly against the T-3488, so we ended up only doing track damage. I thought I might retrack it with that shot, but it didn't happen. Just waiting for the reload, and we get the shot in to finish that guy off. Waiting for the reload again to hopefully finish off the Death Toaster, get our third kill of this game, and that flies in too. We're up to 1300 damage with 961 assistance, and now we're going to go in and try and get behind the enemy team, help this Absolution out, who is killing the Griller. So the likelihood is that well, we're not going to get anywhere near that artillery, but we can use the good mobility of the ELC AMX 90 to get as in behind the enemy team as fast as possible and just start working them over once again with this gun, because it is 11-9, make that 10-9, which means the game is still, make that 9-9, the game is still in the balance. So we get up on top of the ridgeline, put the shot in straight towards the Death Toaster, and we shut him down. Now we know where the other artillery is. We're going to, again, get into a position where we can spot the artillery, aim up the shell, and I'm thinking, okay, I want to pull back behind this ridgeline as much as possible because we're probably going to get spotted by the medium tank if we're not careful that was at C8, because that's something you've always got to pay attention to the map if you're going to fire and you want to stay unspotted, because that way you'll know the sight lines, right? You'll know where and when you're not going to get spotted. But we get spotted here. We know the artillery fired there, and we put the shot into that artillery blind and finish him off. We knew that that Griller was still there because We ended up seeing the shell tracer fly out. But we do manage to get a shot into this Defiance Matilda. He's now a 2-shot for us. We're going to pop back over again, risk it, because we know, again, if we take a hit from the Defiance Matilda, it's only going to do 55 damage. Sure, it wrecks our health very, very quickly if we're not careful, but if we can control the engagement, we're not going to lose too much health very, very quickly, realistically. So I was always willing to go, okay, you can do 55 damage to me if you let me put 240 into you. It's that little bit of trade-off, right? We're at 2.5k damage, 961 assistance. We managed to secure the top gun with that shot on the Defiance, which is great. And there's 3 tanks left on the enemy team. We know where 2 of them were. They were spotted sort of up at G9. So I was kind of expecting them to be charging towards our base and our cap. So we're going to go into a position to try and cut them off if we can. And again, use the camo and the mobility of this tank to great effect. Essentially, our fantastic effect that we can use with this tank, because honestly, the camo is filthy. So here we find the VK. Unfortunately, the VK spots us, which I wasn't quite ready for, if I'm honest. And then we see the Type 58 in the distance. Can we get a shot at this Type 58? Just looking for the shot into the side of his turret, and it's really quite awkward because there's something in the way. I don't know if that's dragon teeth or there's a pillbox in the way, but we couldn't quite find the shot. We have 2 guys capping, which means we're going to win this game. We're aimed for the turret there of the Jumbo Sherman because he was using the weaker turret, the turret that has no armor, and we managed to go straight through. We then shut down the VK36018, securing 2 kills in the blink of an eye to get our 8th kill of the game. We secured the Radley Walters. When we had 2 guys capping, I thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to get any more kills. But thankfully, 1 got off the cap, and we managed to get in there to shut down those 2 guys in our cap, and thus we secured our Radley Walters medal, which is always great to get. It's always a nice shiny medal. It's one of those when you see the same as when you get a pools medal. When you see that shiny medal hit the screen, you're like, oh yes, that's glorious. We're going for the final kill of the game though. Can we get it? And we shut down the Type 58 for our 9th kill of the game. Just imagine if we'd hit 1 or 2 of those shots like at the AMX-12T. We could have had a pulse medal there. But hey-ho, we'll take 9 kills. We're finished with 9 kills, 3.1k damage, 961 assistance. The ace tank of the Devastator, the Radley Walters, the high caliber, the top gun, 2.1k base XP. Pretty damn nice game there for the French Tier 6 Premium Light Tank, the ELC AMX 90, which is just the old school ELC AMX from back in today when it was an old school Tier 5 light tank. Obviously, we still have that Tier 5 light tank, but this is statistically that old school tank from when it could see +3. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!